evening, YouTube. It is Friday the 4th of August. I'm on my way home after a very short week. I'm going to tell you all about it for today and finish off with my daily and my weekly stats and a few things I've learned today I want to share with you. So, first of all, this morning I woke up to the sound of my CX app pinging away, and I was trumping my van in Cardiff, in a really nice place by some lakes. It was really quiet, and I didn't know what time it was, but it felt like it was quite early. So I dozed for a bit, eventually had a look at my phone, and when I opened my eyes and looked at the time, it was 20 past 9. So I had a really good sleep, and I was looking for potential jobs getting me from Cardiff somewhere near High Wycombe, and I did bid on a few jobs, but not that many. Actually, just looking through my list, I didn't bid on any jobs going from Cardiff. I looked at a few. They were going from the area to London, and indeed I was going to bid on some going to London, but I had to kind of fit in the fact that I was carrying some headboards at the same time, so I couldn't necessarily get all the way to London and back to High Wycombe through the traffic on a Friday. So I was reluctant to do central London today, but there was about 2 or 3 long jobs from my area going to London. But I did bid on a job, and it was going in the end from Clevedon, which is Bristol area, it's BS postcode, and another pickup in Bristol itself, and then they were being dropped off at Salisbury. And I was quite excited because it's a place that I've heard a lot about, but I've never been, and it was Porton Down. So I was going to pick up a couple of small containers. One was from a council office building and one was from a hospital. And I was the first pickup was 12 o'clock. And the second pickup was 1 o'clock-ish. And I got this job around about 9:30. So loads of time to get myself ready, get myself over to Clevedon, which was about 15 miles away from where I was. And I bid £100, and it was an 89-mile journey for a small van. Well, actually, probably double check, it was for a small van, but it could have been a car, to be fair. It was just 3 small packages. And so I made my way to Clevedon and got to the location at a couple of minutes before 12 o'clock, so absolutely on time. And I made my way to the reception area of the building, the council building. There was nobody there, so I got some help, called a number on site. They told me to try the post room, so I went round to the post room. Post room person seemed to know what I was talking about, but so I had to go back to reception. He would call the person that had my package. So at this point, at least the person I was talking to knew what I was there for. I had to go back to reception, and on my way back, I saw a guy carrying a box towards me. And I thought at this point, oh, this is really simple. I'll just pick this up and wander over to Bristol. But it got a bit complicated at this point, because the guy carrying the box said, "Are you with XYZ Couriers?" I'm making that name up. And I said, "No, I'm with XC Couriers." I'm making that up as well. And so he said, "Oh, okay, this is meant to be for XYZ. I forgot the name. Anyway, the first one. I forgot the name I made up." And so I said, "That's fine. I'll let you sort it out. I'm meant to be here to pick up a call box." And he had a call box with him. We're going to Porton Down. He said that was right. So we were pretty certain that I was at the right place, collecting the right item. But he said, "Would I mind waiting while I sorted it out?" Because he didn't want to give me someone else's item, which I thought was very sensible. And I was in no rush, so I said fine. He put the call box onto my van, and then we went into the office and he looked through his emails, and I just waited while he did that. And apparently at the end of it, I think we worked out that the job had been double booked, and because he'd had a message from the other couriers saying that they were going to be late because they'd had a breakdown and they were going to be there at 1 o'clock. So I had arrived on time at 12 o'clock. So I felt that, bearing in mind I'd arrived on time and I had the right reference number, and the guy with it was happy to give me the parcel, I was well within my rights to take it. So I got him to sign my pick-up collection note, and he was happy with me taking it. It took about 15 minutes to resolve it, and then I got my van and made my way towards Bristol. I then got a call from my shipper saying that one of the jobs had been cancelled, the other one was going ahead. So I looked at the postcodes they'd given me, and I informed them that the one that they'd cancelled was the one I had on board already, and the one they wanted me to pick up was the one I was on my way to. I told them what had happened in terms of the second shipper being late and I arrived on time, and that the person was happy to give me the parcel to take, and then they said they'd get back to me. So I carried on driving towards my second pickup and never heard anything else from them. So I'm assuming that the double booking was dealt with. But I found it quite interesting. First time I've been double booked. I remember, maybe I think it's the first time I remember being double booked. And obviously these things can happen. But why did my shipper bring me to cancel a job I'd already marked on the CX system as picked up? And I was also like half an hour after the time that I was meant to have picked up, according to their instructions. So it seemed like my shipper had just caved and said, "Oh, we'll cancel our job then." I suppose I'm thinking out loud here. What I'm saying here really is the shipper didn't know the full facts, whereas on the ground when I was there, I knew more of the facts. I.e., the second shipper was late, but was an hour late due to a breakdown. So sometimes I think it's wise if the shipper just asks the driver for their input. But I don't think there's a culture of that in this industry, because I think the shipper I was with is a national shipper, so it's not like they have a relationship with individual drivers. So I think they have a culture where they just like sell them cheap and sell to whoever bids. Whereas if it's another shipper who actually knew you as a person, they probably would ask you, what's going on there? Tell me, give me some more information. Whereas this shipper was just basically telling me stuff that I knew was incorrect, i.e. that my load was cancelled even though I still got it on board. But they didn't bother to ask me first. And I just felt it's different. I suppose what I'm saying is it's a cultural difference between the big national shippers who don't really develop a relationship with drivers and smaller shippers, not necessarily owner drivers, but owner drivers as well, but smaller shippers who are kind of more hands-on, who are kind of perhaps got an office, a single office, and they know their customers, they know the drivers. They're much better people to work for. They are the sort of people that I want to work for, because they have some common sense, they have some understanding, they're fair, they know what they're talking about. I think the bigger shippers just have a churn of people coming in at minimum wage, having targets, just following a system, following a process. And I get a sense that the bigger shippers, the national ones, are just in it for the, what am I trying to say here? It's a process for them. It's not a people business. And I think small shippers it's a people business. And I think there's a very important difference there that I'm beginning to work out that I like with small shippers and I don't like with the bigger shippers. So just a small example of something that happened where I thought a different shipper would approach it differently rather than just bringing me and cancelling a job I already had. Anyway, I'll move on. So I made my way to Bristol and I got to a hospital, and I'd loads of time. I got there 10 minutes before the 1 o'clock pickup time. And I had a number to call, so I called the number. It was a mobile number. It went through to a voicemail. So I left a message saying, "I'm here. I'll ring again in 5 minutes. Not sure where you are." I had at this point I had my porridge for breakfast at 5 to 1 because my water had finally boiled, and then I rang again at 5 minutes later at 5 to 1. I rang again, and I was walking into the hospital. No answer, straight to answer phone. So I wasn't getting anywhere with the shipper, with the contact, the customer contact, and so I thought I'll go to reception, hospital reception. They might have it behind reception. And so I went there. This massive site. This was in Bristol. It's a massive site and lots of buildings. I went to what looked like the main hospital building, and ended up being correct. I then went to reception, and a very nice lady told me she didn't have a clue what I was talking about. And I couldn't help but smile and thank her, because she was clearly just a volunteer. She wasn't really working there paid. It's just someone who just does it to help the community out. So she put me towards someone else. I went to that other person who was wearing a kind of help me t-shirt. I'm here to help t-shirt. not help me t-shirt, sorry, that's a different meaning. And I asked them if they knew anything about the pickup I had to do. They had no idea. They deal with patients, not with deliveries. Again, they were volunteers, they didn't have a clue. So I asked them, is there a post room I can go to? And the lady didn't really know, so I kind of let her go and help someone else, and I went to look at a map. I found on the map where there was a post room, so made my way out, drove around to the post room, and there's a security guard I saw. Another thing that I noticed here, I wanted to say to this guy, I don't know where I'm meant to be, any idea where I'm meant to go for this? And before as on my way around to the post room, I called the shipper and told them the situation, and they looked at their notes, and they said I could perhaps try looking for pathology stores, because there was an email copied into pathology stores, which I thought was quite a useful thing to be told, and therefore I thought, yeah, okay, I'll find out where that is. So I went to the post room, what I'm calling the post room, and I was trying to say to the security guard what I wanted to ask him, where do you think I need to get this from? Is it pathology stores? And he just was writing down he wasn't really listening to me, he was writing down my reg on his clipboard to book me into the thing. And I said, wait, before we do any of that, just listen to my question. I might not need to be here. And he really wasn't listening to me. He kept writing down my van reg, and I was saying, well, wait, before we do any of that, I'm not sure if I'm going to have to be here yet, because I was in front of a barrier, there was a car behind me, and eventually got his attention. I mean, he wasn't nasty, he wasn't being a job's worth. I think he was just, again, I think he was probably more of a volunteer than it was of an age that would be, I think, a retirement age. And I just thought he was just being really efficient with his job. I didn't feel he was being awkward for the sake of it. I just felt that he'd got into a routine, he knew what his job was, he was going to do it no matter what. And so I explained my situation, and he didn't stop writing, and said, oh, when I said pathology stores, he said, yeah, his face lit up, and I thought, right, I'm getting somewhere now, he's going to point me in the right direction. And all credit to him, he gave me a map and pointed out where I had to go, and he was really helpful after he stopped writing my half my reg down. So I thanked him, got myself off to pathology stores, rang the bell, went in. They had no idea what I was talking about, and they said, you go around the side, there's around the back here, there's a shutter, which is the stores area. So I went to the stores area, there's a guy packing some boxes, and I would have thought that when a van turns up and a guy gets out and walks towards you, you might acknowledge him if you were part of that part of that goods in collection area. He was packing some boxes and then went in. I thought, oh, maybe he's just a porter, got nothing to do with the area. I was knocking on the door while he was doing this, sort of just to the side of him, and he went into another door, and there's no answer. I couldn't see a bell. I was looking all over. I went to the other door which the guy went into, and there was a bell. It sort of recessed out of sight. So I rang the bell, and lo and behold, the same guy came out and asked me what I wanted. And I thought, do you only respond to me ringing a bell? Do you not sort of look up and say, hello, can I help you? So the whole hospital experience, luckily I wasn't in a rush, was just full of minor frustrations and irritations because of lack of information and knowledge about where I was going to go. And luckily, the guy at the end did know what I was talking about, went off and got the items and came back and signed my collection note. So in the end, I got to the right place, got the items, but it took a lot of effort and time. And it's just interesting, I think, in this job, the kinds of people you meet. And most people are great and competent and friendly. And when you get any of one of those things that isn't the case, you do notice it. So I made my way to Porton Down. I wasn't sure what to expect. I thought it was going to be a high security place, and it was. But again, it's the first I've been there, so when I go to somewhere like that, I just say I just drive up to someone who's got, I drive up to the front gate. And in this particular case, you have to go through quite a long road. The first gate is not really a manned gate. Go for quite a long way onto the side, and then you get to the security gate. And I just drove up to the first security guy and asked him, and I said, my purchase is this. It always works for me. It's my first time on site. I've got a delivery. What should I do? And once you've explained it's your first time on site, everyone's really sort of helpful. So he told me to just back up into the car park, go into the office, and then they'll sort me out. I have in the past, in my previous job, done quite a few jobs onto military bases, and I'm aware of the security when you go to military base. So I did take with me, when I went into the gate, my sort of company ID that I've got created in case they asked me for ID, and I wasn't sure if it was going to work or not, but they did ask me for ID, gave me a pass, just told me where to go, and my company ID did work, the one that I got off from eBay. So it's got my picture on and got my company name, and that's about it really. And I just told them my company name, and they saw the picture and booked me in. I told them my reg. Oh yeah, one other thing that happened today, which I suppose was quite new. One of the guys came to inspect my van before I went in. And I can understand the reason why. It's a very high secure area, but I opened the van and he was really. I opened the van because I had at the front, by the bulkhead, I had my 3 containers strapped down. And then at the back of my van, I had my items from my job from last night. Obviously, when I got the job, I did tell the shipper that I was going to do it as a co-load, but they were happy with that because it was only a small item. So yeah, he's from the van. He was fine with it. I got on, got to the right place. Some guys came out and asked me what I was doing. I said I was delivering, and they weren't quite sure where I was going to go. So they took me into the building. Anyway, eventually the right person came to me and I got it delivered, but it took a while. The instructions to go to the actual place within on-site weren't that clear, but if I do it again, I'll know where I'm going. Yeah, so I finished there and I got off that site about 3:30ish, and then my plan at that point was just to make my way to High Wycombe, which is about an hour and a half away, and unload my stuff from last night, and then basically just drive home. I wasn't necessarily bothered about getting any more work today, because the job I got this morning paid me enough to cover my mileage back home and my target today. I think I've told you I got £100 for that first job. If I haven't, I'll tell you now. And I offloaded at High Wycombe about 5:30, and got my pod signed and photos taken. I was off site and then just made my way back home from that point. That's what I'm doing at the moment. I'm driving home. I'm not even looking for work. It's 7:05 now on a Friday. There's not going to be any work going my way. So I'm just going to get back. And even with the dead miles from High Wycombe to home and the dead miles from Salisbury to High Wycombe, I'm going to made target today because of 2 jobs. So let me tell you my stats for today and then my stats for the week. And it was only a 2-day week, so it's a bit silly calling it a week's work. It wasn't really that. So for today, by the time I get home, I will have worked for 13 hours exactly. I will have done 333 miles, 333, and I filled up with fuel again just as I left High Wycombe, so my average fuel cost for this week is currently 14.59 pence. So at that rate, my fuel cost for today will be £48.60, and my earnings for today are £290, 290. That's made up of the £190 from my non-CX job that I delivered this morning, picked up last night, and the £100 I did for my CX job, the 2 pickups, Clevedon, Bristol, up north at Porton Down. That means that after my fuel costs are taken into account today, I've made £241. So, my weekly stats are as follows. I have worked for 2 days this week. I have driven a total in those 2 days of 804 miles, 804 miles. I've worked for 26 hours and 20 minutes. And my total earnings this week is £640. I've spent on fuel £117.33, which means that my earnings this week after fuel costs are £523. My pence per mile after taking into account fuel is 65 pence per mile earned for every mile I've driven, and my average earnings per day after fuel are £261.33, so over target again. So I've now achieved over target in 5 of the last 7 weeks. So I feel like I'm there now in terms of my work here. And the other 2 weeks I didn't make target. One of them was £2 below, and the other one was £15 below. So not a million miles way off. My average earnings per hour after fuel costs, and after £80 per day for business costs, comes in at £13.82 this week. So I would say that I'm pleased with my target being achieved. I could do better with my pence per mile being earned to 65 pence per mile, and I could do better, I think, with my pounds of £13.82 per hour. So there is some finessing to do with that in terms of doing the job better to earn money in a more efficient way. But considering that I'd only 2 days and I'm 1 day tramping of that, then I'm happy with that. Okay, I'm going to talk in a moment about a few bits and pieces that I've learnt. But before I do that, I have got an update on my subscriber levels. It's 111 today, so I've got 3 more since yesterday. So I'm still amazed this keeps going up. Thank you very much for subscribing, I really appreciate it. Right, so some little things that I want to share with you that will add to the pot of knowledge that we all have as owner drivers, and I suppose shippers as well. I don't know how many of you are shippers. I'd like to have an audience of shippers, because I think there's some the good shippers that people I want to be able to engage with. But I'm assuming, when I picture in my head, that you're an owner driver, possibly retired. My age profile is predominantly men over 55, which I'm very happy with. But I'm not complaining at all. It's great. So I'm assuming if you're that demographic, you're probably a driver, I'm guessing. Or have been a driver, maybe more importantly, have been. Yes, so one little thing I want to say, one thing I noticed today I wanted to share with people who are perhaps new or just an observation. One of the things I like about this job, it's a tiny little thing, it doesn't mean anything, but I like about it, is I get to meet so many different accents, regional accents. So today I listened to Bristolian accent. I have recently been to Newcastle, to Cardiff last night, to Shrewsbury was different. I've been to Edinburgh, I've been to Inverness, been to Liverpool, been to Manchester. I think one of the things that I've noticed is that in our country, we have a very rich tapestry of regional accents. And although I knew that, I'm not an imbecile, I knew we had that. What I've realised is how good that is. It's nice, I think, to have that regional difference. I think it allows people to feel part of a community where they've got the same sort of way of talking. And I just embrace meeting people who have these slightly different accents in real life. I find it interesting, I find it nice. Yeah. I'm sounding like someone who's a people person, but I am so not a people person. I'm the opposite of that. But I do appreciate humanity, and I suppose I appreciate that people have their own way of living, and I just don't want to necessarily engage with them myself. In terms of communication and talking. I'm going to start. That's such a ramble. It's typical of me to go into that after all I wanted to say was I liked accents, and then I go off on one about humanity. It is one of my issues, I'm afraid. Sorry about that. Okay, let's get back on track. So currently I'm looking at insurance for my van, and I was pleasantly surprised. I got a quote yesterday that was in the region of £1,700, and I'm happy with that. I told them my new mileage and my new job, and cost of living has gone up since last year. So if it is, I've definitely got a price in that region. I'm going to wait for my renewal to come through. I'm assuming it's going to come through in about a week or so, maybe 10 days. My actual insurance is up for renewal on the 27th of August, so I want to get it sorted out as soon as I can. But I'm pleased that my estimate in my business costs of 3,500 is going to be half that. So when I've got that figure, I'll adjust my business costs estimate. The next thing I wanted to say is I learned something today, which I was told, but I was told I've got no reason to doubt it. It's something I hadn't really thought about before. I thought I'd share it with you guys. So when I was picking up from my first trip pickup, the guy that was dealing with the double booking said that he was told by the second shipper that they find it hard to get drivers on a Friday because drivers are self-employed and they don't like working on Fridays. And so the guy that I was splitting from relayed that to me, and I said to him, well, it's true, a lot of us are self-employed, but I don't really get the not working on Fridays bit, because I'm happy to work on Friday. And then after I left, I thought, is that the reason why, or is that part of the reason why Fridays are busier? And it makes some sense. If you've come from a career and you're doing this as like a second or a third career, and it's because you want the flexibility, I can see how people would want to have the option to not work on a Friday and have a long weekend. So maybe there is a lot of drivers, as in numbers, that don't work on a Friday, or maybe do take the odd Friday off. So maybe there is some truth in that a Friday is slightly easier to get work because of that reason. I'd always assumed that Friday was a better day because it's the last day of the working week, and people want to get stuff off the premises before the weekend. And I'm assuming that is also true. But it's interesting, I hadn't thought about it from the point of view of drivers choosing not to work on a Friday. I've got no reason to doubt that. That possibly is the case. Now, I'm happy to work on a Friday, so it doesn't apply to me, and it probably doesn't apply to most of you. But if, say, 1% of drivers regularly don't work on a Friday, there's a lot of drivers that won't be working on a Friday. So if that's combined with extra work, I think there are opportunities on a Friday to make money. From my point of view anyway, I look forward to a Friday, and I have decided to avoid London on a Friday. And obviously I'm late in the day, I'm new to this job, and people who've been listening to this video have learned this years ago. But I think that I don't want to waste time stuck in traffic in London or in other places around the country when I could be doing more work and getting paid more money. So getting paid more per mile because it's a Friday, and also getting more jobs in the day. So I find Fridays are quite good for me to work, so I would not work Fridays. And this brings me to an in my opinion comment. I'm going to say that a few times because I've noticed on some social media, let's say that, it's basically YouTube, I don't really have any other social media, that I do notice that there are some people who, how can I put this, have a negative approach to CX and to bidding for work on CX. And I wanted to show you through my channel my experience from zero to where I am now. So that's why I did one of my videos, told you what I earned every week for the first 10 weeks. And it was tough in the first few weeks, but I feel that now I'm getting what I want to earn. So I have to be honest with you and say, I find that I can earn money off the CX okay. And I'm not saying that the people who are struggling are doing anything wrong or they're not correct. If you find that you find it hard to earn money, I actually trust you and agree. But I'm trying to work out what's different. What am I doing differently that, at least at the moment, in my opinion, I'm doing all right. And I am very mindful that come January, February, I will be struggling like everyone else. But I think that between now and then, I feel that I probably will make the money I want to make. So I've come up with some reasons why I think I am doing all right. And I don't know whether this is true or not, but I'm just trying to genuinely think what's different about what I do compared to what other people may be doing. So the first thing I would say is, and I'm going to say this first, I think it's really important, but I suspect you might think it's irrelevant. And I think that having a positive attitude generally to this job and the CX does help me. I don't get down, I don't give up, I do sort of look forward to bidding, and just having a positive attitude I generally think helps me do well on a sort of a blind bidding platform. The kind of the unknown element to it. I think going into it with an open mind and a positive mindset, honestly, I think it helps me. I couldn't tangibly say how, but I just think it does. And I think opposite, if you go in with it with a very negative mindset, you might be closing off avenues or bidding differently than I bid, and maybe that comes across in some tangible way that means you don't get business. I don't know, but I think it's important to have that mindset. Second thing I've noticed is I do break the law most days. In that I look back at my my hours, and it's pretty much always over 10 hours. I'm aware that the law says I can only work for 10 hours at a time with a break in the middle, and I don't think I can make the money I make by doing that. I work around about 13 to 14 hours most days, and I feel that for me that's within safe limits, and I feel that if I didn't do this extra sort of 4 hours or so, I would not make the money. And I think I'm okay with that, particularly since there's no tacos in at the moment, because it comes down to how likely is it that I'm going to get caught and prosecuted for going over the 10 hours. Well, I know that legally I'm not meant to be doing it, so it's not a question of not knowing the law. And anyway, that wouldn't be an excuse anyway if I didn't say that. But I think that in my mind, providing that I'm aware of the safety issue, which I am, i.e. not to behave in a way that's going to put other people at risk or myself at risk instead of being too tired, then I think I would regard it as being a common sense approach to my job. And the way I see it is, if I'm involved in an accident and the police ask me how long I've been driving for, and I tell them it's over 10 hours, I've got not a leg to stand on. They're going to throw the book at me because I'm broken the law. But unless I'm involved in an accident, I don't think anything's going to happen. I don't think I'm going to get what's the word? I want to say caught. That's not the right word. I can go under the radar with this, providing I don't have an accident. And I think that's how the law for driving it generally is. You know, you're not allowed to speed because if you speed, you're at higher risk of hurting yourself and other people. Therefore, there's a speed limit in place, and that's variable on the conditions of the road and the place you're at. But at the end of the day, you're in charge of your vehicle, so if you choose to speed, you might get caught, you might not. Now nowadays, there's a lot of cameras around, so you're probably going to get caught. So I tend not to speed because it's not worth the stress for me. I find it too stressful. You're not meant to overload your van beyond your vehicle weight. Now, I never do that, and I wouldn't. Hopefully, in a position where I have to. I do know my weights, and I wouldn't do it. I've been on the limits at times, and I've been concerned: am I actually a bit over or a bit under? And the way I've justified that is, how does my van feel to drive? Does it feel any different to normally? And at no point have I had any weight on me where I felt it's driven abnormally. And I'm mindful of what I'm picking up and how much I can pick up. But if I get caught and I'm overweight, it's my responsibility. I have to accept that I'm going to get fined or get a warning or whatever. And obviously, the more overweight you are, the more illegal you are, the higher the penalty will be. So when it comes to the working time, I can't make a living doing this job only doing 10 hours. So I feel I have to, and I'm comfortable with doing more than 10 hours in a day. I know it's not technically the right thing to do, and I'm justifying it to myself purely by being absolutely careful about how fit I feel to the tiredness, so being really mindful of that. But also, it's I'm doing a means to an end. I want to get to a point where I've established myself as a same-day courier enough that when tacos come in, I can perhaps then scale back my times to within the law. I don't know if it's going to be possible. I've got a couple of years to get myself some customers and to get my name out there, to kind of get regular business. But in the meantime, it's just a means to an end. I have to put in the extra work, the extra hours right now to make this work. And I would say that in all other aspects of this, because of the assurance and my qualifications, my driver license, I obey every single law to the letter. But I found that I have to break this law to make a living. And I'm absolutely aware that those of you there that will think that's horrific, and those of you out there who will think it's fine, and there'll be a whole spectrum of opinions based on what I've just said. And I'm happy to hear anyone out. Just tell me the reasons why you think something. And I think I'm just trying to be honest and open, to be honest. I think that's what one of my values is. Be honest and open. I don't necessarily like the fact that I have to do this, but it's real. I'm sharing with you the reasons why I'm doing it. The other reason I think that I can earn the right amount of money for me is the ability to tramp out. Now, if I had to get home every night, I don't think I'd make the money I make doing this. So I think that's the third reason why I'm able to make the targets that I want to make. And as I get older, I might decide that tramping is not for me. But right now, earning the money trumps the slight inconvenience of tramping out in my van. I don't think I'll do it in the winter. I think I'm probably not going to cope with it in the winter. So again, I'm aware that this is the time to make my money, so that I can perhaps take it easier after Christmas. Okay, I think I will leave it there. Thank you very much for listening to me again. Have a lovely weekend. And I shall. Oh yeah, so next week I'm gonna get my van service on Tuesday. So I'm going to hopefully work Monday, hopefully just have one day off on Tuesday and then work for the rest of the week. But I've got quite a bit of work to get done on Tuesday, so we'll see if my van's available for Wednesday. Okay, thank you very much. What have you learnt today?